welcome to Presley Mania. My name is Rhonda, and my channel is dedicated to preserving the legacy of Elvis Presley and his daughter, Lisa Marie. Today, we are going to be talking about Lisa's book tour. I and my best friend went to Memphis Friday, and Saturday Riley was in Memphis for the book tour. And so this segment is going to be my review on what I thought, how I felt, and just a general reaction of the things that happened there. It was it's going to be a mixed bag. That's the only way I know how to put it. So just hang on, and I'm going to try to go through all of it. My thoughts, my feelings are quite jumbled up. I had some disappointments while I was there. It's just, and I will delve into all of it. But I wanted to thank those that I got to meet. There were so many of you that came up to me and recognized me from the show, and that meant so very much to me personally. So thank you for taking time to come up and introduce yourself and let me know that you like the show. I enjoyed talking to each and every one of you. It was just one of the best parts about the trip. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I appreciate every single one of you so very much. So let's dig into our show. Let's get into this. So we take off Friday. The show is Saturday. We spent all day walking around the Graceland complex. We stayed at the guest house, went over there and got checked in, and then got dressed for the show. And I had heard that Priscilla had been in town earlier in the week. I did not realize she was still in town, but after, you start walking around the complex and then you get to the show and you start hearing people say she's still around, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because you guys know how I feel about her. I just kept hoping and praying she wouldn't show up. But she did. She did. She ended up being at this book tour in Memphis, much to my dismay. And I'm going to get into why it upset me, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. Y'all know, those of you who have followed my show for a long time know that I try to be fair and respectful to all those involved. I'm trying to look at this from both viewpoints. My opinion, though, is going to be my opinion. So, first of all, I have seen so much stuff on Facebook, like, why was Priscilla there? Why, and this was a planned thing. And from the looks of it, it does look like that maybe it was somewhat planned. At first, I didn't think so. I felt it had been thrust upon Riley, and she just tried to handle it as graciously as possible. But then I started seeing photo ops and things that were done. I'm trying to look at this from Riley's point of view, and then I'm going to look at it from Lisa's point of view and my point of view as a mom, as a daughter, and just tell you guys what I think. I'm just going to be upfront and honest. Why would Riley have her on there? Well, she is family. She is her grandmother. She's her Nona. And, I have always said that I was Team Riley. I don't know what to think anymore. I'm just going to be honest. I know that it's possible to love someone but not particularly care for the things they have done or their actions. So did Riley feel like that maybe she had to bring her on? I don't know. I can't speak for what Riley thought. I do also know, I keep saying because I am struggling with words for this. I do know that Riley is close with her sisters, Harper and Finley. Michael Lockwood has custody of them, Lisa's ex-husband, Michael Lockwood. And that being said, Priscilla and Michael Lockwood have a close relationship. So could it be that maybe she wanted to, she was like, okay, if you want to come out on the show, if you want to say a few words, then okay, maybe it has something to do with that, because Riley doesn't want to take a chance and damage the relationship between her sisters. Maybe fearful of not being able to see them. I don't know. Is it possible that there is some kind of an agreement where they have to do so many photo ops a year, where they have to be seen together so many times a year? I guess all that's possible too. But, I've tried to rationalize in my mind why in the world would Riley have her there. And I can't come up with any good reason in my mind. I mean, if they have to have so many scheduled photo ops and stuff, why did it have to be here? Why, of all places, did it have to be in Memphis? The place that Lisa loved and cherished. And yeah, there were hard memories for her there too, but it's the place Lisa loved and cherished more than probably any other. She considered Memphis home. And Priscilla showing up, especially after we know everything that's in this book, and I've got little sticky notes everywhere. Y'all can see those, so I'm going to go over some of that. Especially after everything that came out in this book, my opinion and my honest opinion is that it was disrespectful. There was a Facebook post from Nicole Richie, or either it was on Graceland's, and it was captioned, Nicole Richie said 24 hours in Memphis to interview Riley Keough and Priscilla Presley. So if it was not planned, then why would that have been said? It just feels wrong to me. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to let Lisa's words speak for herself as to why I feel like that Priscilla shouldn't have been on this book tour. And I do have to say this too. This truly, truly bothered me. I'm going to go through some of this and tell you some of the things she said. So they bring Priscilla out at the very end, okay? Through all of this, Riley was gracious and kind, and the things she had to say about her mother I felt were wonderful, and they were heartfelt, and you could see that she was still very much grieving the loss of her mom and still the loss of her brother. And grief is one of those things that it doesn't ever go away. I mean, it's always there with us. We learn how to deal with it, but it doesn't go away. And Riley, you could see it, and you could tell when she was asked a question. Sometimes she would do the sigh and lift her shoulders, and it's like, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to talk about it. And she came across, I have to say, very real, very open. And before Priscilla came on, like she was true to her mother's legacy. That's another reason why I'm questioning Priscilla being there, is because we'll get into it. So Priscilla comes on. When they bring her on, they were talking about family, and she goes, and speaking of family, and she said, we need to bring out an extra chair. So they bring out a stool, and out walks Priscilla. And my heart just sank. And I'm like, no, not her. And she comes out, Priscilla comes out, all smiles, and she sits down. And I'm not kidding. The first words out of her mouth, after all the applause died down, she looked at Riley and said, oh, was mine bigger than yours? Meaning, was her applause bigger than Riley's? What? Why? What kind of person says that? That to me was just, it speaks volumes about her character, you know? It's all about her. And I feel she definitely wanted to be there at this book tour, and she wanted it to be in Memphis because she knew how much Memphis meant to Lisa. It was a way to upstage her, in my opinion. Priscilla did not seem to me to be the least bit sad. I did not detect any type of grieving in her voice. And for those of you who were there, if you did, please write in the comments, let me know and tell me where, because I didn't hear it. She was laughing, she was giddy, she was just almost beside herself, basking in the glory and the attention. And you know, she said something, she made some comment, I can't even remember what it was that she was asked, and she answered, and she started telling something, and apparently she didn't know the answer right away, and Riley pointed to the book and said, it's in the book. And Priscilla said, oh, well, I haven't read it. But to me, it was obvious that the story she told, she did not come across to me as really knowing who her daughter was. You could tell that there was a disconnect there. I mean, as a mom, as a daughter, I can tell you from my point of view, if I were in Riley's shoes and my mom, I had just completed a memoir and listened to the tapes and the things that she had said, I wouldn't have wanted my grandmother on that stage in Memphis with me. Now, if she wanted to come out at the end and just wave and say hello and then turn around and walk back off, maybe. But in my opinion, they should have kept her backstage. If she wanted to be there and if she wanted to have some family time, okay. But she did not need to be sharing this moment, and I do not feel that it was honoring to Lisa in any way at all. And let me tell you why. Okay, and if some of you have not read this book yet, and I am spoiling some things for you, my apologies, but I need Lisa's words to speak so you can understand why I'm telling you the things I'm saying. This is page 7 of Lisa's book, and she said, my mother told me that she had thought about trying to fall off her horse to cause a miscarriage. She didn't want to gain pregnancy weight. She thought that wouldn't be a good look for her as Elvis's wife. There were so many women after him, all of them beautiful. She wanted his undivided attention. She was so upset that she was pregnant that initially she'd only eat apples and eggs and never gain much weight. I was a pain in her I'm not going to say what Lisa said immediately, and I always felt she didn't want me. I believe in energy in utero. So maybe I already felt her vibe of trying to get rid of me. Eventually, she just kind of decided to keep me. But at the time, she didn't have great maternal instincts. That might be what's wrong with me. Okay, that's page 7 of her book. Then, Lisa says, that she always felt like she was loved by her dad. It was an unconditional love that she felt from him. But I don't think she ever felt that way with her mom. Let's see. Let me find what it was I wanted to read to y'all. So, on August 16th of 77, when Elvis left, Lisa said that, this is page 60 of the book, that I heard my mother was coming for me. That was the worst. Really, that's what she said. That was the worst. It felt like an invasion. Graceland was my place with my dad, and I didn't want her there. She was going to wreck the whole vibe. I had my friends. I had people around. Not only was she coming to take me home, which I didn't like, she was also coming to attend the funeral. Then I had another thought about not being able to come back here anymore. My grandfather was still alive, so I would have an excuse to come, but would she let me? She finally showed up, and I was on a golf cart with a friend or two. I remember her standing in the doorway at the front steps of Graceland and calling my name, trying to wave me down. I just waved back and kept going. She yelled at me, "How can you be on a golf cart right now?" I wouldn't give her any attention, though. I was so upset. I didn't understand at all why I got yelled at, but in retrospect, I can understand that she was probably thinking about the fans on the street. They could see me, and she probably thought it would be bad publicity to have me driving around in a golf cart playing with my friends after my dad just passed away, because the whole world had stopped. Bless her heart. And then I guess the book also goes in, I don't guess, I know, the book also goes into the fact that Lisa talks about how her mother always was shipping her off somewhere, that at one time that she had sent her to a French school to learn French because she was dating a French guy. Lisa said she wanted her other life back, that she said she always wanted to go to Memphis. She always wanted to make sure she could go to Memphis, and that's what her mother held against her. She would threaten her with, "You're not going to be able to go to Memphis if you don't do blah, 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 blah." And it would really upset Lisa. She said, but I would do whatever I needed to, because she knew it meant everything to Lisa to be able to go back to Memphis. She said she kept her watch on Memphis time. I mean, it wrecks me. And then, we have to acknowledge the part in Lisa's book about being sexually abused by one of her mother's boyfriends. And it's in the book, and not one question was asked about that. And I keep thinking, Lisa was not close to her mother. I'm not saying they didn't ever see each other. I'm sure they did, and I'm sure they talked. And I feel like Lisa loved her mother, and I would like to say that Priscilla loved Lisa. I'm sure she did in her own way, but Lisa didn't feel that. Lisa even says in her book that she felt like she was a trophy to her mother. And indeed, she really was. She truly, truly was. And it's heartbreaking to me to think that a mother who would leave and go out of town and leave her child with someone who sexually abused her, that doesn't bode well for Priscilla. And yet she is on the stage with Riley, and she's acting like she is the happiest person in the world and is not showing one bit of grief. That doesn't sit well with me. To me, that is not respecting Lisa Marie's memory. What would I have liked to have heard? I would have liked for someone to ask her that question. And my mother's heart would like to have heard her say, I made a terrible mistake. I should have never allowed that. I am so sorry. And to see some real remorse and grief from her. But yet we didn't see any of that. I have to say, when she walked out on the stage, I just sat there. I didn't clap. I didn't get up. So many people were standing up around me. But the girls I was with, we just sat there. And we were sad. And mad. And upset. I do know that a lot of people got up and walked out. There were several of them that did. And I was told that as a bunch of people were walking out, the people working at Graceland said, what just happened in there? And they said, Priscilla showed up. I didn't pay to hear her. Good for them. I wanted to stay and see what she had to say. It was an opportunity for me to listen and to try to be fair on both sides. And after thinking about it for days and looking back on the things that were said and how she acted, I still can't believe it happened. And I am so sad about it. And I've always, like I said, looked at Riley as someone with a lot of grace and dignity. I will say that I feel like Riley is in a very tough position. But in this case, and this is my opinion, but in this case, I truly feel like she should have stood up and said, no, not this time. This is my mother's time to shine. This is my mother's book. You know how rough and rocky your relationship was. I'm not saying you don't love her, Nona. And I'm not saying that my mother didn't love you. But I'm saying that y'all did not have a good relationship, and Mother addresses it in this book, and it's not appropriate. That's what I wish Riley would have done. But instead, Priscilla comes out, and what that says to the world is that they are a united front. It's what it says to me. It's not my family. And it's not for me to judge what they do and the decisions they make. But as an Elvis fan and as a Lisa fan, I feel like I do have the right to be disappointed. I do have the right to my feelings on the matter. And I feel like that this was in bad taste. And especially the way Priscilla acted. And like I said, if she would have come out and would have been sad and remorseful for what happened, she says she hadn't even read the book. Well, maybe you need to. Maybe you need to read the book and see what Lisa really felt. Because it is filled with statement after statement on how disappointed she was about Priscilla's actions toward her. There is a place in this book where it says, it's on page 111, where Lisa is talking about that her mom was at the helm of Graceland, and that Priscilla wanted Lisa to start training to get prepared for taking it over when she turned 25. So Lisa goes to one of the meetings and she said, "One day I made the mistake of sitting at the head of the table at a board meeting. My mom came in and said, 'Don't you ever sit in my seat at the head of the table. Who do you think you are? This is my business. I am the one who opened Graceland. You can't just come in and sit there like you're something.'" Those were Priscilla's words to Lisa. I don't know, the book doesn't go into what Lisa said to her, but bottom line, you know it and I know it. Lisa was a trophy. She was the golden goose to Priscilla. And there would have been no Priscilla had there not been an Elvis. And I venture to say a Lisa, because had Priscilla and Elvis divorced and there not been a Lisa Marie, there would have been no reason for her to be relevant. There would have been no reason for her to be involved in Graceland, because she wouldn't have even been included. I have to also say that they talked about, this is, and I apologize y'all, this is a much longer video than what I normally do, but I am just trying to cover everything. Lisa talks in the book about Michael Jackson, and she was asked something about Michael Jackson, and she went off in Memphis. She was just talking about him, how she didn't like him, how she felt like he had used Lisa. Whatever your opinion is on the whole Michael Jackson thing, I understand. I have my own viewpoints on that. But Lisa truly, truly loved him. She actually says that, she said, "I was actually so happy. I've never been that happy again." That's what she talks about on the day that she married him. And Priscilla talks about that. And, you know, we've all heard the story that Lisa or Priscilla called each other and she said, "There are helicopters," Priscilla's saying, "there are helicopters flying all around my house. Please tell me you didn't marry Michael Jackson." And Lisa's words were, "Yep, I sure did." Well, so Priscilla goes and she alludes in Memphis to the fact that she says basically that she already knew they were getting married. Well, not according to the book. That's not what the book says. But I also wonder if Priscilla realized that Michael Jackson is the godfather of Nicole Richie, and Nicole Richie was the one asking the questions, and she literally bashed him. And then then Priscilla says, when she finds out, or she's going through the whole thing, and she says, "And I was so happy on the day they divorced." She was like, "Yes!" And she did that. She goes, "Number 2 gone." Well, who was number 1? Lisa had married Danny first. And who was Danny? Riley's father. I mean, it was some of the most off-the-wall statements, like no thought given to what she was saying. It broke my heart. Seriously. I mean, it was almost like it was all about Priscilla's happiness, and Lisa's never mattered to me. And I know, y'all, that they spent family time together, and like I said, I am sure Riley loves her grandmother. She was very gracious, Riley was, on the stage. She handled it with dignity. But in my honest opinion, do I feel like she made the right decision? I don't. I really, really don't. And I was disappointed and very sad about the whole thing. And I also want to say too, on that comment that Priscilla made about, yes, number 2 gone. Well, she didn't like Danny either. And it says so in this book, in Lisa's book, that she did not like Danny. In fact, she was dating someone at the time, not Michael Edwards, but someone different. And this guy went and played tennis with him and basically tried to run him off, saying that Lisa was just going to use him, and when she was done, he'd be gone. And that was all at the insistence of Priscilla. They sent somebody around to try to follow him, to prove that he had done something wrong at different times. I mean, it just goes on, and I'm thinking to myself, Riley, you knew this. You knew all of this, and yet you allowed her to come on. Does Priscilla have something on Riley? I don't know. I don't know. But I can say this, and I can say it from my heart, that if my mother had written a story like this, and it had been as negative towards her mom as this book is, I would have said to my grandmother that, no, you're not coming out. I'm sorry. I can't allow it. I love you. I love you. But you need to understand. That is my review. I will have more to say in the next few weeks. Lisa had a really hard life. It was not necessarily a happy life. I think she had some happy moments. I think she had some happy moments with her mom. That's in the book too. But overall, I don't think Lisa ever felt truly loved and accepted by her mother. And that's another reason I don't feel like Priscilla should have ever walked out on that stage. Like I said, y'all, these are just my thoughts. It's my opinions. You may agree, you may disagree. And you can put them down in the comments below, and we can all talk about them. So until next time, remember, you only get one shot at this life, so live each day to the fullest, because you really never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So until I do another show, I'll see you all guys next time. Bye, everybody. So there's one other thing that I need to bring out about what happened in Memphis. So Nicole Richie had asked a question that was posed by a fan. They took them ahead of time and they chose one. So the question that was posed to Riley was, if you had one day to spend with your grandfather, what would you do? And Riley's answer was so great, so typical Riley. She was just like, I would, I'd heard so many things about him, what he was like, this and that. She said, but I would want to take that time and just talk to him and learn about him and make my, basically her own opinion of what her grandfather was really, really like, and that type of thing. And I just thought that was such a great answer. And then Priscilla picks up the microphone and she says, hey, I'm not kidding y'all. She said, I would want him to meet my son. Say what? No. But that's what she said. Why would Elvis want to meet your son, who says nasty, ugly things about his daughter? I mean, come on. That one took the cake. And I just had to bring it up. I just had to let you all know.
Thank you.